All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here for the Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3 live stream. Really, where we can talk everything Game of Thrones and predict what we can expect to see this episode and just kind of geek out and see what's going on. So happy to see that there's a lot of people in the chat. Hey, Mick Pure, Sean Murray, I see Fury, Coco B, who else? Michael McDonough. Yeah, hey everyone, what's going on? Yeah, really, it's gonna be a crazy episode. I can't believe it, and I'm excited to drop a video after this episode airs because whatever we see that in this episode is going to completely change the context of the last 3 episodes. Um, really, from what I've seen based on the community, there's 3 different like interpretations or predictions on what people think is going to happen. First of all, they defeat the Night King, they defeat the Whites, everything's done, and then they focus on Cersei. Option 2 is, the Night King is there, they fight, and then they have to retreat south. Option 3 is the Night King goes to King's Landing, kills Cersei's armies, resurrects them, and then they have to fight off the Night King in King's Landing. Just kind of the theory that the Night King isn't so stupid. So yeah, in terms of what I think will happen, based on if they defeat, I'll be honest with you, if they defeat the Night King this episode, I'll be pretty PO'd. I won't be happy because I don't. People say the show is called Game of Thrones, so it should be about the throne. I disagree. I think the whole point of the series is that it's a song of ice and fire, and the Game of Thrones is just an aspect of what this show really is. And I think if you beat the Night King in this episode, it would feel like it was half-ass, haphazard. They just kind of threw a plan together and defeated the Night King. I don't think it would really make any sense. And the worst part to me is that, like, making Cersei the main villain, it has no stakes. You just defeated the dead and the Night King, and then you expect me to suspend my disbelief and be like on the edge of my seat when you're going to fight Cersei. No, and there's plenty, like Robert's Rebellion, like there's plenty of other wars between humans. Why would the climax of this episode or of this season be about humans against humans? It's always been like that. It's supposed to be about the Night King. So I would be shocked if they killed the Night King and defeated the dead in this episode because they just kind of threw a plan together and went with it. So I would be shocked. And in my breakdown video, I talked about it too. The one thing with Bran that I'm really irritated about is they kind of sidewinded his character where he's like, oh, he touched me once in the Weirwood, and now he's gonna follow me because he wants an endless night. But we spent so many times going back looking at Jon Snow's heritage, but wouldn't it be smart if he actually went back and looked at the War for the Dawn, how the children, the first men, and Azor Ahai defeated him in the first place? That seems like that would be pretty valuable information. So there's a lot to expect in this episode. There's a lot that we don't know, which I think is exciting. I think there's a lot of surprises, and I think it's an hour and 20 minutes for a reason, because realistically, it's not going to be an hour and 20 minutes of just fighting. It's going to be character plot integrated in there. I think there's going to be different levels of the battle. I think the battle is going to take place outside of Winterfell, where Grey Worm, Brienne, Jaime, like all those characters are, Jorah. And then the characters that survive retreat through the castle gates of Winterfell. They light the trenches. They guard everything up. And then Winterfell comes on fire. Whether it's Daenerys is doing, I'm not sure. Maybe to help defeat the Night King. But they're going to hold off Winterfell until it's in flames. And then they're going to have to try and escape. And I think during that, we'd have some psychological issues where we have, like, Arya, for example, like, facing off against resurrected whites that are the people that they love. So I think that would be crazy to see. But I hope that, and I don't know if it's possible, but I hope we get more lore. I hope we get more context on the White Walkers, on their symbols, because we know that that's a focal point because we saw the spiral symbol in the first episode of this season. So I hope we get a Bran flashback. I hope Bran goes and does a flashback. I hope we get more realizations of what the Night King is after. And maybe I just, more than anything, my takeaway from this episode is I want it to knock everyone back. I want it to make it feel like they can't defeat the Night King. And that's why I said in one of my videos, like, Bran could die. Because I'm at the point now with Bran where he's not the three-eyed raven that I thought he should be. He's kind of, I don't know. He's just not doing what I think he should. So I think if Bran dies, it kind of gives a sense of like, okay, we're screwed. And then you have to figure out how they're going to beat him. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's see what's going on in the chat here. And that's a good idea, by the way. Somebody in the chat said, Icy Fury said that they upped their brightness to TV because it's all nighttime. That's a good idea. Because when I did my video on the predictions for episode 3, I realized that you can't see half of it. So it would be a good idea to increase the brightness on the TV to prepare for this episode. What do we got here? All right, let's go through some of the questions. Not Human asks, why isn't Jon's hair gray like a Targaryen? It's what they always say. Targaryens are usually inbred. And I think one of the key things is, it was a benchmark of season 1 that the seed is strong. And, Stark and Targaryen, Winter, Fire, they're two vastly different houses. And I think the Stark took over in Jon, right? I think that's the most important part in terms of Jon's, heritage and his story. Water. Why not Giant's milk? Good point. I should have gotten some milk. That was awesome, by the way. Like, Tormund in that episode was incredible. I love Tormund. He's one of my favorite characters just because Jon was always my favorite character and Tormund was always around Jon, so Tormund kind of became my favorite character. But I think he was awesome. And I said in my prediction videos on like who's going to die, Tormund I'm 50-50 on. It really depends on what they're going to do. But Tormund is one of those people that I want to live because I think he's awesome. Dan Mitchell, do you think the Night King can be killed by Dragonfire, or do you think that they'll have to find a new way to kill him when they retreat? The Night King's interesting because, and including the Whites, because the Whites walk through fire like it's nothing. In terms of Dragonfire, I'm sure he's not immune to it. I think the unique thing about the Night King is that he's both ice and fire. Like the dragon glass is fire and exterior is ice, kind of like Jon Snow. His blood is Targaryen. He's outside. He's a Stark. He resides as a Stark, right? But my prediction. Like I love the idea of sacrifice. I love the idea of the Night King as this unstoppable force, and the only way to keep the peace is to give him what he wants, and that would be the prince that was promised. But at this point, it doesn't seem like it's going that way, unless, of course, Jon would be the prince that was promised that the Night King wants. But that raises a bunch of questions on why the Night King is coming south now. But you could really ask that about anything. Like, if the Night King wants an endless night, why is he coming south now? Why is he coming south when Daenerys has 3 full-grown dragons, right? It just doesn't make sense. That's why I feel like there has to be more context to his story. So hence why if they beat him this episode, I won't be happy. Oh yeah, see, Carrie Neves disagrees with me. She thinks that the true big bad of the story is human nature, and that the final battle is going to be human versus human. So they're going to be fighting Cersei, and the Night King dies tonight, maybe episode 4. I just think I disagree from a storytelling point of view. Like, the foundation of this show started with the Night's Watch going north, and it was announced, or we found out that there was this threat to the north. And this whole season and this whole show has been building up, establishing the White Walkers as this threat that came south before and is coming south again. So I think after all that setup, you cannot just throw them away and defeat them in one half-ass plan to fight them. I think that would be wrong. But watch me eat my words tonight when that happens. But I really hope it doesn't. I hope Cersei is a cog in the wheel that stops them from defeating the Night King. Like, if I were to write it out now, I think Winterfell will go really bad. They'll have to retreat, and then they will retreat to like the Iron Islands, or they'll retreat to Dragonstone, and they know that the Night King is still retreating south and Cersei's there. So they would have to ferry into King's Landing, try and convert the Golden Company to their side, try and defeat Cersei, and try and, get the last of their armies together to fight the Night King. And that the final stand would be at King's Landing, and Cersei wouldn't be the main bad. She would be the person keeping them from being successful at beating the Night King. So that's how I would want it to go. Sam Wickens asks, how can you be sure Azor Ahai is going to happen? The reason why I keep talking about Azor Ahai is because in order to understand how to beat him now, you need to look at the past, right? And Azor Ahai, that's like kind of like a religion thing that was based off of stories that happened in the past. So I think it's important. And I think when you look at like Melisandre or Bran or any other, Green Seer or somebody with the Lord of Light religion wise, they've been foreshadowing it. Melisandre has had predictions that she's been right. Every prediction that she's laid on Stannis, we've seen it come true with Jon. So I think this Azor Ahai figure, there's some truth to it, and I think we've seen that throughout the whole show. Path 805, Jaime dies, Winterfell falls, they retreat to Dragonstone and sneak into King's Landing. The Hound kills the Mountain, Arya wearing Jaime's face kills Cersei, canceling the Golden Company contract. That's an interesting take. For me, Jaime dying this episode, I think Jaime should be sidelined until later. I would love to see Jaime kind of go back full circle to Cersei and he actually be the one to kill her. But I see how that's fulfilling because it is Jaime and it is Arya who's fulfilling her list. But I think Arya's kind of going away from that now. But I think it does make sense to the way I wrote it in my prediction videos was either this is going to be the first point in history where the Golden Company breaks their contract to support Jon and Daenerys Targaryen, or they're going to kill Cersei to break the contract, which then they would be able to make a new contract with them. So I think those are the two options. I personally, obviously I'm a fan of Jon. I like the idea that the Golden Company joins Jon and they only follow Jon because it gives him an army. And it's not like he wanted them to follow him. They just did it because he's a legitimized Targaryen. He's kind of the character who brings people together with the wildlings, and he can give them lands to settle on and pardon them for being exiled from Westeros. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what he's done in the past. Did anyone see Tyrion's eyes at the end of episode 2? When Dany and Jon walk off, did his eyes warg? Did Bran transfer his knowledge to Tyrion since he was marked? Tyrion, I don't think so. In terms of, the eyes, it's kind of like the sword thing when Jon's underwater and you see Longclaw and everyone's like, the eyes went white, man. The sword is warging or something like that. I think it was just a shot, right? The one thing I did say about Tyrion, though, is Tyrion's been getting shit on for the past 5 episodes of the show. He's been making mistake after mistake after mistake. I think this time though he has to do something that kind of proves Jorah's point, that Tyrion learns from his actions and he's intelligent and whatever, and Tyrion needs to have a fulfilling character arc that gives him that moment because he hasn't had one in so long. And the one thing I did notice with Tyrion was if you watch episode 2 back and they're planning the battle strategy for Winterfell, watch when Daenerys looks at Jon and Jon says your grace, and then he takes off and Daenerys looks upset. Tyrion notices that and he's smart. He knows that there's something going on between them. And then right after that, he talks to Bran. And the only people that know about Jon Snow right now is Daenerys, Sam, and Bran. And I don't think Bran is going to go out right and tell Tyrion that Jon is a Targaryen, but I think we may get a twist that tells us that Tyrion knew that Jon was a Targaryen because of his conversation with Bran, and he kind of used that information to put why Daenerys and Jon are at ends with each other. Because really, it's not rocket science. Everyone knows that Rhaegar took Lyanna to the Tower of Joy and raped her, right? Everyone knows that story, so maybe when he gets a bit more insight from Bran, he'll be able to be like, oh, okay. And then he might be able to finally do something that is important and not screw anything up. But yeah. What else do we got here? I don't think the Night King will follow Winterfell tonight. Me neither. I'm honestly just hoping it doesn't. I don't even want to say my opinion one way or another because I wouldn't put it past the producers of the show to just kind of throw out the Night King. But there's been too much setup. for them to just remove him now. So I'm gonna hope to God that they don't remove the Night King. But if that's the case, I'm just interested to see how they retreat Winterfell. Are they going to leave through secret passageways in the crypts and then fly dragons out? Are they going to, fly dragons to a ship and ferry over to Iron Islands or Dragonstone? I just found it interesting with Yara, how they had her go capture the Iron Islands. I don't see how that's useful. Like geographic wise, it makes more sense to take Dragonstone because like Winterfell is here, right? Winterfell's here, and then it goes to White Harbor, and White Harbor is kind of how they go out, right? But the problem is Dragonstone is right, or King's Landing is right there. So that's one issue, but I'm not sure. Do you think it's possible that the crypts of Winterfell have the same protection as the Three-Eyed Raven cave, and that's why Bran doesn't want to get in? I think if that was the case, they would have told us that. Them leaving out that information doesn't, and surprising us with that information, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like if that was the case, then they would have told us. I think what they're gonna do, and I think the books and the show are different. I know the book is, it's all about their secret enchantments. There's things put in place that guard the family members of Stark from being resurrected, but it's possible that they would be resurrected. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just get a scene between, Sansa, Tyrion, and Varys, and it's just traumatic because they hear the whines of their ancestors in the tombs, but they can't get out because it's like bolted shut or something. I don't know. But that may be a part of it. And I think I can't stress that enough. My opinion is obviously the fight against the dead is going to be bad, but I think there's going to be a lot of psychological things in place that's going to mess up with our favorite characters. Like it's going to put them in a very bad spot. Jason Wachop says, have you heard the Power is Power song? What are your thoughts? Any connection to the remaining episodes? Haven't heard it. I don't know if you're talking about the Game of Thrones music. I heard one of them and it was bad and it didn't represent the show in my opinion. I thought it sucked. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it means anything. All I can say is that title, it just makes me think of Varys when he says power resides where men believe it resides. I've said over and over again, I think the key aspect of this show right now is where's power going to reside, with Daenerys or with Jon? Because they've gotten leadership differently. For Daenerys, it's been about her name. She's Daenerys Targaryen. She's done a lot of great things, but it's the basis of her conquering and taking over for the throne. Jon was a nobody. So power resided with him because of his actions and who he was, not necessarily because of his name or title. So I think that's the key difference between the characters, and we'll see how that feeds into now that Jon actually has a name and a legitimate claim. Yeah, Brian says he'll be mad if Bran dies and they have no more flashbacks. True. I don't, with the flashbacks, I would have done it differently. I wouldn't have separated Jon's heritage, like finding out that he's the son of Lyanna Stark, and I wouldn't have separated that with them getting married. I think it could have been told in one flashback, and I think they should have dedicated another flashback to like the War for the Dawn or something. And I know that they won't because they're doing a spinoff on it. So that's one part of it that's irritating to me. Abelish, I'm so sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. Molek asks, does analyzing so much take away from the surprise of it all? Because we are really exhausting possibilities, I guess. In my opinion, it doesn't. I like just like expressing my opinion. I think it's fun, but I will say, if anything, it sets me up for disappointment because I spend so much time on some of my theories to the point where I'm like, it's right. Like it's foolproof, like, right? It has to be because it's backed up by so much fact. And then they go right out and throw it out the window with some stupid plot point that doesn't evolve or doesn't meet every single story plot that they've hinted on in the past. So if anything, it sets me up for disappointment. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Viva Kojima asks, hi, new here. Can we comment predictions for tonight's episode? Yeah, so if you're new here, I would suggest there's a lot of videos you should check out. I got a good video on the Night King, how to defeat the Night King. I got a video on how to defeat Cersei. For this episode in particular, though, I got a predictions video on how this battle's going to go. Really, the main point of it is it's going to be like Hardhome, where everyone's going to be retreating. Like, we're going to have our characters holding off Winterfell, and then we're going to have like Grey Worm, Brienne, Jaime, Pod, Jorah. They're going to be outside of Winterfell holding off the Night King and his army with the Dothraki. And I think it's going to get so bad. So they're going to retreat into the castle. Castle's going to go up in flames. I think Jon is going to spend a lot of his time in the Weirwood tree, and I think or the Godswood. I think the Weirwood tree is going to be destroyed. I think everything's just going to go to hell. So I think it'll be a really bad episode, great episode, but really sad in terms of that. Hey, do you think Bran will go back in time again to revisit the whole Mad King event or the Long Night? Yeah, in terms of the Mad King event, I don't think it has any meaning, like right now they're fighting the dead. Why would they go back to see the Mad King? Doesn't hold any weight. There's no purpose to it. Do I think Bran's going to go back in the Long Night? If I was the writer of the show, yes. Yeah, I think he should. That is the most common sense thing ever. Like, hey, there's this thing that is coming south that is killing us, and I don't know how to defeat him. So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to go see if my brother John's a Targaryen. No. What are you going to do then? Oh, I'm going to go see if his parents got married. That doesn't matter. Go back and see what happened last time. That's what he should have done. That's what should have been done. But it hasn't. So, and I don't think that they're going to do that. But I think it would give us a lot more lore on the Night King. So, yeah, that's the one thing about it. And that's where I'm a little bit nervous about how this episode's going to go. Because, this episode's going to tell us what the next 3 episodes are going to be like. And I think if the Night King is defeated and we're left with Cersei, how does Cersei as an enemy even compare to the Night King, right? It doesn't make any sense. Sydney says, death predictions? Yes, I did a video on that too. And everyone commented that I said everybody, which isn't true. I left very significant people out. And it's not for I don't think everyone's going to die in episode 3, but I think we're going to lose a lot of main characters. I think we're going to lose Podrick or Brienne. I don't think we're going to lose both of them. I think it's going to be one or the other. I think Brienne's fulfilled her arc as a knight. She's going to be the first female knight of the 7 kingdoms. And I think if she doesn't, she's going to die in the next couple episodes. I think she could die here. I think we could see, I think Dolorous Ed, I don't know how to say his name properly. I think he's gone. I think, who else? Just a lot of side characters. I think we're going to lose. Tormund, I'm rooting for him. I hope he lives because I think his character could represent so much more if he lives through this. Davos could die. It's a possibility because his whole role, and Melisandre had predictions of it, he's meant to help Jon win the throne or to be his hand, basically. If he's still useful, and it really depends on where this episode is going to take us moving forward. But Jon may still need Davos to help vouch for him and kind of take that Targaryen name and help him get that power. So it depends on if he's needed or not. He may die. There's a lot of characters. I really broke it down in my prediction video as best as I can. I think Jaime's going to live. I think he's for later. I think he's going to deal with Cersei. I think Bran is a possibility. Theon is going to die. Bran, I just say Bran because I just want it to happen because I want the Night King to win. Not in the end, but in this episode. I think Theon's going to be a main death, which sucks. I kind of wanted him to be King of the Iron Islands because he's the one who paid the Iron price. What else do we got here? Viva Kojima, Jon dies to the Night King. Beric and the Hound find him in snow. The Hound revives Jon while Beric draws a fire circle. I don't think they're going to kill Jon again because he's always been. I think him and the Night King are going to have a moment. If the Night King is there, I think they're going to have a moment. In terms of resurrection, though, I think there's 2 characters who would resurrect. I think Beric Dondarrion and Melisandre. I always felt that Melisandre would be the character who would give the kiss of life to a character, and that would be it. So I feel like she would have that role. In terms of it being Jon, though, I don't think Jon's gonna die again. I think he's pretty much. I think Jon's gonna live till the end of the show. But that was my one prediction that I said. I think Daenerys and Jon, the two main characters. I think one or the other will die, but one of them will live. I think that Daenerys will die. I think her whole story arc kind of leads to that, but that's how I feel. Master asks, is Jon Snow unburnt? We've seen in previous seasons that he isn't. Like, he burned his hand when he was throwing the lantern at the White who attacked Gior. I don't think they're going to reveal anything about him being unburnt. I think it's more about him just being a Targaryen and a dragon rider at this point. So I don't think we're going to see any reveals on that. Whose death would be the most unfair for the character who dies? My opinion is the Night King. That's honestly my opinion. The Night King is the worst character you could kill off in this episode, and that's it. I'm going through the questions. Icy Fury asks if the wildlings had mammoths at one time. Yeah, they had giants and mammoths. I don't think any of them made it, though. I think the wildlings have been stretched pretty thin. I think that's it. All they got is the wildlings, the North, the Vale, Unsullied, and Dothraki, and 2 dragons, and Ghost. Sam Wickens, do you think the Night King is arriving at Winterfell tonight or heading to King's Landing? Yeah, I said it earlier. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I like that idea of him going to King's Landing, but I don't think he is. It just doesn't, watch me eat my words, but the stakes of him going to King's Landing, that just basically writes off Cersei as a character, and Cersei is more important than that. So I don't see the Night King going to King's Landing. I see him being there and fighting. And I think he's going to resurrect all the dead at Winterfell at the end of the fight. That's my wish. I hope he's there. I think he has his dragon. I think his dragon is like, it flies fast. So it'll be very hard to fight. I think Jon and Daenerys are going to try and keep him at bay. I hope. And I think it will end with them retreating. And I think the Night King will just resurrect the dead and move forward. And I think where this ends is King's Landing. I hope that they have to lay it under siege and try and take it from Cersei before the Night King comes. And that will be kind of like the race against time kind of a thing. Roger Fleming, will we see giant ice spiders? Nope. I'm going to bet that we won't. It's just too much money. And this show, they've kind of written that off as myth and legend. And I'm kind of glad. This sounds dumb, but the show has kind of a groundedness to it. And I think ice spiders would be too much. I like the way it is. So I think that's it. I think if anything, we'll see a polar bear. But other than that, no, I don't think we're going to see ice spiders. Daniel Grego, do you think that there will still be dragons by the end of the series? I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I kind of feel like there'll be like a magicless ending. Like, I feel like nothing will make it through magically. I think the dragons will be gone. I think the Night King will be defeated. I think maybe even Bran won't even be around. So yeah, who knows? Somebody says the image of Varys in the trailer with the woman and kids conveys their fear, which I guess gives away the safety of the crypts. Well, I don't know about that. Obviously they're nervous because there's a war going on above them, right? I'm actually really interested to see the crypts of Winterfell, because I think what's going to happen is Sansa's going to go back down there, and I think it's going to be the perfect parallel for her character when she was in King's Landing with Cersei during Blackwater Bay. And Cersei was drinking and Sansa was trying to sing and like keep up morale. And I think that's an important thing. You want to make sure morale is high and people don't feel like they're going to die. So I think Sansa will kind of, brighten the spirits in the crypts of Winterfell. And then, I think we're going to have characters rush down to the crypts to try and get them out. Um, Timothy Brown says if they didn't beat the Night King at Winterfell, done the episode season would be over. If they didn't beat the Night King at Winterfell, the episode season would be over. I kind of understand what you mean, but I kind of don't. I always imagined them defeating the Night King at Winterfell, but I feel like this was so rushed. So I like the idea of it. We see winter at King's Landing anyway. I think it should end at King's Landing. Sydney says they can't see the Night King being killed. And she feels like whoever survives this battle will go to King's Landing and they'll fight the Night King again. Yeah, that would be interesting. And my one thing with the Night King going south is again, it kind of discredits Cersei as a character. So that's my one opinion on that. I feel like she dies from the Valonqar. I think there has to be more stakes than that. My thing is that the Night King stays north. He resurrects all the Winterfell people. Jon, Daenerys, all them. They rush to King's Landing. And they try and get Cersei out, and they have to beat her quick. And I think Jaime's in a place where Cersei's going to do something Mad Queen like blow up King's Landing. She's going to keep attacking Daenerys. She's not going to give up, and I think he'll kill her. That will result in them getting the Golden Company and having their final stand at King's Landing. That's how I would like it to go. Programmer of video games. Any idea on the first man who becomes the Night King gets stabbed in the chest in the vision? Bran grabs on a branch of the weirwood tree like he's expecting the pain himself. I need to read that again. Any idea on why when the first man who becomes the Night King gets stabbed in the chest in the vision, Bran grabs the branch of the weirwood tree like he's expecting the pain himself? I don't know. I didn't really key into that. The only thing I can say to that is my personal predictions. If you go back and you watch my prediction videos on this season, I predicted that Bran is kind of the Night King because the Night King would be attacking Jon, or he'd be attacking somebody that Bran feels like is important for the night to come. And he would go back to that moment where he was with the children and he watched the children convert the Night King. But much like he did with Hodor, he would warg into the first man who was created as the Night King. And when he warged into him, the dragon glass was pushed in. So Bran's subconscious and ability became the Night King. And Bran would be in a coma. So basically, in order to defeat the Night King would be killing Bran. So that would be an interesting concept. Hunter Snow, what if no one dies? You know what? Last season was like that. This season, honestly, I think the best case scenario is we'll lose one key character. I think a Brienne or something. The worst case scenario is we lose one person. Footyball. Isn't the only chance of winning the battle for Winterfell is killing the Night King? Too much freaking whites. No, I know. That's my one thing. Their only chance is killing White Walkers, because what we saw in season 7 is every time they kill a White Walker, the dead that they've resurrected fall, and killing the Night King, which they have no experience. They don't know if Dragonfire kills them. They don't know anything. So, and you have to look at the War for the Dawn. Last time he came south, he just went back north. So how did they manage to push the Night King back north? That's why I had my prediction that, he's not after a darkness, an internal darkness. He's after the prince that was promised. And that was the sacrifice that made him go back north. And that's why in episode 1 of this season, we see Ned Umber, a child, in the middle of the spiral that caught on fire. So that's what I would like to see. But yeah, other than that, I think in this season we would see them defeat the Night King. I don't know if it's going to happen with a sword fight or what. But this I can't even express how much we don't know about this episode. It's crazy. Seabach, if you haven't answered it yet, who is your money on being Azor Ahai? Top 3 guesses. It depends on your interpretation of Azor Ahai. For me, it's always been Jon. And I'm at the point where it's so definitive of Jon being a vital role that it's like, to me, it's like there's no one else. Like, and people who, I understand people have their opinions on it being Daenerys, on it being, these other characters, on Jaime, whatever. But to me, Jon epitomizes ice and fire. He's a song of ice and fire. He's the bridge between two sides. He's alive. He's dead. He's the duality of everything. And he's the peace between people. And he's the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. You know what I mean? And of course, he's the legitimized Targaryen. Of course he is, because he's freaking Jon Snow and he's Azor Ahai. So I don't think that there's any other person than Jon Snow. And I think everyone has a role to play. And I think it depends on interpretation. Like, I did a video on the myth of Azor Ahai. And really it breaks down like this. They say Azor Ahai, really they say Azor Ahai did one thing. He had a sword. He plunged it in water and a lion and his wife Nissa, and then he pulled out a flaming sword called Lightbringer, and that sword was used to fight off the Night King, and he went north, right? And then there's the prince that was promised. They say the prince that was promised was born under a bleeding star among salt and smoke. What else? And something else, I forget. It's not important. But people always said that those two people were the same. My interpretation is that they're two different people. Azor Ahai is the father of the prince that was promised. So if you want to go that interpretation, then Azor Ahai would either be, Azor Ahai would be Rhaegar. Rhaegar was Azor Ahai. He tempered his sword in a Martell. He then tempered his sword in a Stark, right? And Lyanna was Nissa, and he pulled out a flaming sword, which was Jon Snow. And Jon Snow is the prince that was promised. That would explain why the Night King was fascinated with Jon, right? So that's my interpretations on that. Yeah, I think everyone has a different role, though, right? I think Daenerys is the mother of dragons. That's just as important of a role as being Azor Ahai, right? But they have two different things. And whoever is Azor Ahai, though, we've heard Melisandre say, whoever is the prince that was promised Azor Ahai, whatever, they will be king. And I think that's the key part of Azor Ahai. It's not about the person who brings peace to the world by defeating the Night King. It's the person who can bring peace to the world, right? And all Jon has ever done is bring peace between two sides, right? He brought the Wildlings and the Night's Watch together. He tries to bring Cersei and Daenerys together. He's the bridge between people, right? And he just gets elected even though he's a bastard. It's based on his ability and not by his name. So I think Jon is Azor Ahai. It's my long answer. Michael McDonough, do you think it's a bit late for Dany to be pregnant? Yep. Can't see it being said tonight on the show, so there will only be 3 episodes left. What story could you tell in 3 episodes? Yeah, no, I think Dany's too late to be pregnant, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't want her to be. In my predictions, I said she was, because I thought they were beating us over the head with it, and I thought the showrunners would do it. So I predicted it because I thought that it would just happen. I'm kind of happy that they're not making her pregnant. I'm very happy. Do I think they're going to do it? No. I think that would be rushed. I don't think they'll do that. I think the last 3 episodes are going to be very different than what we expect. I think the last 3 episodes, they're going to be fallout from this episode. So I think episode 4 is going to be our characters picking themselves back up, establishing a game plan on how to lay siege to King's Landing. Episode 5 will be the siege of King's Landing, how they get in there, how they dethrone Cersei, how they hold King's Landing, and how and who will sit the throne, Daenerys or Jon. And there's going to be a lot of political ramifications on that. And then episode 6 may be the final fight. The fight between the Night King coming to King's Landing after Cersei's been defeated. King's Landing is destroyed. How are they going to do it? And then the last half an hour or 20 minutes of episode 6 would be like an epilogue. What happens after? How they rebuild Westeros, what it looks like. Does Tyrion have his wine farm, Wine Imp's Delight or whatever? Does we'll see. I think episode 6 will have a kind of a show us at the end on what happened. Wow, there's a lot of comments, and I'm very far behind. Holy cow. Okay, so what I would say is if you're doing questions for me, do an at BuzzTox. I'll go straight to there, and I'll try and answer these as much as I can. All right, what do we got here? Dan Mitchell, why are the North not using wildfire for this battle? We saw it destroy an entire fleet in King's Landing, so why not try to get some from Cersei when they made that fake truce? Um, I I think Bronn said it best at the Battle for Blackwater, and I think this is a reach, but if you're swinging wildfire, you're going to have breakage. And when you have breakage, you would have one of the wildfires blow up in Winterfell and you'll burn down the whole castle, right? So wildfire is something that's very dangerous that you got to be careful with. I think we'll see an aspect of that in this episode. I think we're going to see like Harrenhal. When Harrenhal was burned down by, was it Aegon? Every Targaryen, you're safe to guess if it's Aegon. But what was the dragon's name? I forget. Sorry, but basically Harrenhal was burned to the ground, and I think we're going to see the same here with Winterfell. I think whether the Night King is there or not, there'll be a moment where either Daenerys or Jon, they try and burn something, and it goes out of control, and they're responsible for burning Winterfell to the ground. Unless the fire that we see in the trailer is actually blue fire, and they CGI'd it to throw us off. But who knows? Tony Milster says your takes seem like you've never read the books. Here's the thing: I'm very well educated, but in terms of the books, I got in a bit later, and in terms of my predictions, I don't ground anything in the books because this isn't the books. This is the TV show, and even though it's heading in the same direction, they're two totally different pieces of media. And I don't think you need to fully understand the books in order to make an accurate prediction on what will happen in this show, because whatever the outcome of the show is has to rely on past tropes and past prophecies that have been introduced in the show and not necessarily the books. So yeah, and I like focusing just on the TV aspect of it, because I think people who focus on the books, they stretch theories that don't make sense to fit it to the precious book. Whereas in a TV show, it being a different medium with different characters and a different plot line, it doesn't necessarily make sense. So that's how I feel about that. What do we got here? Sorry, guys, I'm not the best at reading through all this chat. Do you think we'll see Nymeria and her pack of wolves? Honestly, no. I don't think we will. I just think what they did last episode or last season with Nymeria was meant to be kind of a send off. I think the only direwolf that we will see is Ghost, and I think it will be money well spent. I think we'll like what happens with Ghost. Hunter Snow, Jorah's on the front lines with the Dothraki. Yeah, he's either with the Dothraki or he's leading the Starks on the right flank. So Jorah maybe he might go, or he might live for a little bit longer and then die. I'm not sure, but he's gonna die in this season eventually. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how these people go, because you see Brienne, like, she's front and center. How could she not get killed? You know what I mean? But I think we see her on the battlements of Winterfell, which suggests that they retreat, right? So yeah, I'm really interested to see how that happens. And Grey Worm too, like, Grey Worm, I think he's going to be the character who dies over the wall. He dies outside of the castle of Winterfell. I think that's going to be the first death that I think we'll see is that. John Mellering, do you think Jaime is Azor Ahai? No, I think John's Azor Ahai. I talked about that like 10 minutes ago. I think Jaime's story is there's nothing about Jaime that suggests that he's Azor Ahai. I think at that, to be honest with you, I just think it's reaching. I think Jaime is the Valonqar, and I think that makes more sense for his character. He's been really humbled over that, and now we're gonna see him go through that arc of trying to come to terms with his actions, and I think we're gonna see him. His story's gonna come to the close when he finally makes things right, and that's confronting his biggest demon, which is his sister. So I think Jaime makes the most sense. What else do we got here? HBO Live, there's no additional episodes. It ends tonight. Yeah, wouldn't that suck? Surprise. Do you think House Targaryen will be extinguished after season 8? I think some houses could be. Do I think the Targaryen house could be? It depends on how some characters look at their house. Like, I don't think Daenerys is going to make it through this show. I don't. I think if the Targaryen line lives, it would be through Jon. But I don't think Jon. I think Jon identifies as a Stark. I think he's coming to terms with him being a Targaryen. But I think at really the end of the day, he. I think at the end of the day, Jon identifies more as a Stark. Will he keep his name in order to gain fellowship? I'm not sure. But I think if any kind of bloodline lives, it would be through Jon. Because I think Jon already died, right? Jamie James, does the idea of the Night King want an endless night seem like a weak purpose? I don't think it's necessarily a weak purpose as long as they execute it properly, right? I like that. That's a plot point that I can buy into. I just wish that they went back to learn more about him before Bran made that assumption, right? Because if he wanted a night in darkness, then what was it that made him go back north during the War for the Dawn, right? So do I think it's a weak purpose? No. Would I be disappointed if that was the actual purpose? Not necessarily. But I do think that there's other plot points that they laid down that would suggest a more meaningful purpose to the Night King that I would love for them to explore. Because I think the Night King wanting an endless night doesn't necessarily feed into how he acts, how he came south, why he's coming south now. It doesn't feed into the symbols that he uses to let people know. It doesn't feed into him seeing Bran on the weirwood and touching him. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's so many factors that could back up something else and another motivation. Scott Grimes is a little off topic, but he asked me about Westworld reviews. Yes, I will always be doing Westworld. I will stick with Westworld. So you know that. Will they cut Bran's arm as bait? Well, if they did, it would be the first time we see Bran feel anything in a while. Unless he's just still spaced out. But I don't think they'll do that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope Bran does something. Like, he does. I hope he does something. And my one issue with Bran is that they could have used him so much better. Like the fight, and I feel like the Night King could have been used a bit better. Like, I'm gonna go back to season 7. There were a couple things about that season that got me really angry. First of all, Tyrion's idea to go capture a white to please Cersei, that shouldn't have been the plot because I think that is cheesy and stupid. Jon faced them at Hardhome. Facing the White Walkers head on is probably the stupidest thing you could do. I think what should have happened is it's clear that Bran green sees and that he saw the Night King before. What if the Night King is making Bran see things and Bran is the one who tells them that they need to capture a white? And then we see our characters go, and instead of them running from the whites and standing on that giant rock and all the ice breaking around them, what should have happened was they stood on the rock and got in formation, and the Night King stopped all the whites. And Jon and everyone else would be like, why is all the whites stopping? And they would sit there and wait like they did, but instead of them waiting for the ice to freeze over again, the Night King was just holding his army. And you'd be like, why is he doing that? And then Daenerys comes with the dragon, and then he tells them to attack. That would show that the Night King has a motivation. It would show that he has a purpose. It would show that he's after something in particular, and it would show that he's a good commander, and it would show that Bran is at the will of the Night King. So I think that there were some things that they could have done with Bran that would be more meaningful, and things that they could have done with the Night King that would have been more meaningful. And that's what I wanted to happen. I think that's what should have happened. Megan asks, do you think that they'll use the final episode or even a few scenes to flash forward maybe a few years to give us a glimpse at the world after winter is over? Yeah, I think we'll get an epilogue. I think the epilogue will be maybe like 20 minutes, and then we might get a wrap up, I think. Or it would be, if it's not a couple of years, then it would be like a couple weeks showing like the foundations being rebuilt of this new world, and that would really be it. Okay, what do we got here? Damien says, I hope Arya is still alive. Yeah, I feel like I'm the only person who feels like that, but I think Arya is toast. Not in this episode in particular. I just think this season she's not going to make it. My interpretation, I realized, was a bit different. When Melisandre said brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, you'll shut them forever, we'll meet again. People saw that as brown eyes, blue eyes, and green eyes. Those are the people that she will kill, and she will close those eyes forever. My interpretation was her eyes, because she is faceless, she has brown eyes, she has blue eyes, and she has green eyes. And those eyes, she will shut them forever. So that was my interpretation. And I think we've seen symbolism of like Ned Stark watching her fight with Syrio Forel. Arya is known to be a lot like Lyanna, meant to die young. And I think Arya will die young. I think that's a good foreshadow of Ned watching his daughter get stabbed by Syrio. And I think we could see something unfold where Jon kind of being like the next Ned Stark. He's very similar to his dad, Ned Stark. And I think it would be really interesting to see that scene play out again. But this time it's Jon watching Arya, and he watches Arya get defeated. So that would be interesting. But do I think Arya will die this episode? I don't know. I don't necessarily think so, but I think that she would die later in the season. Jay Patel says, I think that this episode will be all fighting scenes, but episode 4 will be better in terms of plot. I disagree a little bit. I think in terms of creating a show, doing an hour and 20 minutes of pure action is a very hard task to do. I think we're going to get character scenes in the Crypts of Winterfell. I think we're going to have character scenes in the middle of battle. I think hopefully we get revelations with Bran and we learn more about the Night King during the fight. And I hope there is some twists along the way. And you know what's funny is I actually wouldn't be surprised if the battle for Winterfell ends about 30 minutes before the episode is over. And the last 30 minutes is dedicated to watching our characters retreat. So I think this episode would end with our characters retreating, getting to safety, and the Night King, hopefully, if he lives, resurrecting all the dead at Winterfell. And then we're kind of left being like what's going to happen? All right, what do we got here? Oh my gosh, there are so many questions. I don't even know where to begin. How do people do this? I'm like still so new to doing live chats. All right, what do we got here? Tarlin Stag, no pun intended. Do you think Ghost will be killed off? It's a strong possibility. They've kind of put Ghost as kind of a back-end character. I think Ghost, his key purpose, I guess, in the show was what he represented, right? He represented a ghost, which was what Jon became. He died and came back. His eyes are red because of Targaryen. He has a white coat because he identifies as a Stark. Ghost is the symbolism of Jon, right? So he represented that. Will he die? I'm not sure. At this point, I feel like they haven't laid enough ground for Ghost, so I think it's possible that he would die. So yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. I just think there's no significance to Ghost at this point because they haven't established anything for us to be psyched about. Somfish, do you remember the little girl that looked like Princess Shireen? She said that she'd defend the crypts. I think she'll be the first casualty and possibly give life for someone in the crypts. Yeah, so in terms of her, as soon as I saw her, my first reaction was, that's a character that we're going to learn or grow. Learn or grow. It's going to be the first character that, like, we're going to learn a bit about them, and then they're going to be killed off the next episode. And especially seeing a child die would be very hard. Kind of like in Hard Home when we learned about that woman and then she got killed. But she has the scar of Shireen, right? And a lot of people are saying that it's Melisandre wearing glamour. I'm not willing to go that far. I think if anything, it could resemble like Davos kind of being protective over her. But in terms of being Melisandre, I wouldn't put it past them at that point. That's the one plot point that I'm unsure about, and I'm kind of 50-50. So we'll see what happens. What else do we got here? Plot twist: Bran will turn up and kill Tyrion and Jaime during battle. Yeah, wouldn't that be funny? Do you think the Stark sisters are safe? I think Sansa's safe. I think Sansa's going to live this whole thing through. Arya, I don't know. Arya's a wild card. I think if she lives through this episode, I think she's going to die in another episode. That's just how I feel. Dany is dead, sure, 100%. I don't think Daenerys is going to die this episode, but I think that she's going to die. So that's how I feel about her. I don't think we're going to lose any like heavy hitter characters until, the last couple episodes. Timo says, what do you think of the theory that Melisandre is Nissa and Jon is Azor Ahai? I don't like it. The reason why I don't like it is because I don't think the one thing I do like about it is it shows, Melisandre went on this character arc of trying to force prophecy and force history through Stannis to realizing that she's not that significant. She can't force things to happen. That's why with Jon, she kind of took a step back. The one thing with Melisandre, it would be kind of nice if she made one final decision that put herself on the line and that had stakes. But in terms of her being, I don't think so, because I don't think there's any emotion behind it. Like, what does Jon killing Melisandre mean? Nothing. These characters haven't really developed any kind of relationship. And yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of Nissa more interpreting instead of a sword, it being a child. But yeah, I just think that that's not emotionally satisfying for that. It's like me saying like Gendry kills Cersei, right? Gendry's the Valonqar because if he's a young bastard brother. It's not emotionally fulfilling. At BuzzTox, if Jaime doesn't survive the battle for Winterfell, who will kill Cersei to fulfill the Valonqar? Would it be Tyrion or Arya? Using Jaime's face. Yeah. So the one thing about Valonqar is it's gender neutral, right? It could be a younger sister, a younger son, whatever, brother, sister. So really, I see a couple main candidates. If it's not Jaime, then it would be either Tyrion, Arya, or Daenerys. Daenerys was a little sister, Arya was a little sister, and Tyrion was the younger brother of Cersei. I think emotionally it makes more sense if it was Jaime. In terms of out of those three, who I think, I guess Daenerys, right? Because Daenerys would be the Valonqar as well as she would be the queen, the beautiful queen that takes everything from her, and that would freak out Cersei. Somebody says, does it bother you that we've had 2 years of Bran having flashback ability and we've gotten almost nothing? They could have extended the series an episode or two with them. it's not the flashbacks. I'm not upset about them not flashbacking enough. I don't care about that, and I don't think they necessarily should. My only issue is um, the flashbacks need to be used with purpose. And I feel like them taking the same reveal that Jon is a legitimized Targaryen and spreading it out over 2 seasons is not an effective way to show us Bran's ability. An effective way to show us his ability is for him to watch the Tower of Joy and find out that he's a legitimized Stark. And then another one would be to go back and understand the Night King with the Long Night. Because Bran keeps talking about how beating the Night King is such an important thing, but we've seen no flashbacks with him that show us that he's taking it seriously. We've only seen him go back and try and find out more about his brother, which, Jon is important to defeating the Night King. But I think if you want to do more research, I think it's important to go back to the Long Night. So that's my opinion on it. I'll say it over and over again. That's why I was really angry when they told us we were doing a Long Night spinoff. I think that is the worst possible spinoff idea that they could have done, because I think this story, the key of this story is the foundation of it is the Long Night. And I think we should have gotten a lot more flashbacks of the Long Night. Somebody asked, do you think that they'll raise the dead in the crypts? I think they got to, right? It just makes it gives it emotional stakes. And like I kept saying, like there's going to be like physical warfare, but there's also going to be psychological warfare. And I think, our characters fighting their family members and friends would be a really, really entertaining. Yeah. Kevin says, please stop making the da 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 sound, please. I do that strategically because I don't want to be sitting here in silence. So I kind of fill that with white noise. Duh, 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 duh. So, I'll try my best. Maybe I'll fill it in with like some kind of other sound, and we'll see how that goes. Do you think that Bran will warg a dragon? That feeds into Bran will not walk again, but he will fly. I think it's 50-50, like I was thinking about it too. And this is just, off the top of my head, I was thinking, if Bran dies, small reference to the books, but when you die, you can warg into an animal and live out your life. Right. I think it would be interesting if Bran died and then we realized that like his subconscious was in Rhaegal, and that's how he would kind of wrap up his life. He would be Jon's dragon. But I don't think we'll see him warg a dragon. I think the show is going to focus more on Jon's relationship with Rhaegal. I hope more than anything we get a scene of like in season 5 when we see Daenerys in the mosh pit and they're getting attacked, and she kind of closes her eyes and then the dragon comes, Drogon comes. I hope Jon has a moment where, he's going to die, everyone's retreating, and he's alone, and it's him and the Night King, and he closes his eyes and he summons Rhaegal, and Rhaegal comes and saves him. I think that would be amazing. I would love to see that more than anything. Nico, are you drinking tonight for GOT? Is it goat's milk? The closest I'll get to that is the cream in my coffee. So I'm going to have coffee. Honestly, me drinking for Game of Thrones is not a good idea, because right after I watch Game of Thrones, I come in here and I write my first impressions, and then I record, and then I edit, and I'll probably be in bed at like 2:30 tonight, and my video will be up around 1. So you can expect that. Peter says, do you think we'll spend more time with Cersei in this episode? No, I don't. I think the episode 3 is going to be entirely Winterfell. And I'm kind of shocked that entirely Winterfell, unless the Night King goes there, or unless there's some twist that I'm not seeing. But I think like episode 2, it really focused on the characters, building up the characters. And then this episode is going to take them away from us. And I think it's going to focus entirely on that aspect of the show. Peter Endicott says, does Tyrion sit on the Iron Throne? I think he's my second candidate. I've always said Jon sits the Iron Throne because He'll do it out of honor because he has to. I think that's his role. I think he was just the character that was meant to rule, and I think it's just really the reason is to build the better world, is to keep the wheel broken, right? But I think the next candidate would be Tyrion. I think Tyrion has almost an equal shot of sitting the throne as Jon. So I think Tyrion would be one of the key candidates as well. And you know what? A third candidate I would throw in there is Sansa. You know, as a fan and based on like the show, I think Jon will sit the throne. Tyrion's a close second. I think Sansa is a possibility as well, but you know, we'll see. Thoughts on the Dancing Master coming back? You talking about Syrio Forel? He's not coming back. I'm sorry. Will the God's Eye be part of the plot? I was hoping that it was. You think it would be significant, right? Maybe. Honestly, I think with this show, we've only seen every trailer and every piece of promotion material that we've seen has been the first 3 episodes, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of a plot twist or more revelation on the Night King, and Bran finds out that he needs to go to the God's Eye, or they find that it's important to go to the God's Eye because, for one, it's surrounded by water and you're protected. Number 2, you're surrounded by weirwood trees. It's like a nuclear weapon for a three-eyed raven. So he could go there, do a lot of damage, find out a lot of stuff, and find out the importance on. That's what I would love. I would love for them to get knocked back on their heels, get their ass kicked, and then be left not knowing what to do, and Bran be taken to the God's Eye to get more answers. He'll be able to go to the Long Night, find out how they defeated the Night King, find out more information, and then it's kind of like the last scrap to really see what they can do. Oh, people are saying that there's leaked pictures. Why stuff always got to be leaked, man? That sucks. Nope. If stuff is leaked, I'm not looking at it until I will watch the show at 9:00 tonight. Peter Endicott, does Varys die? Yes. This episode, no. In my opinion, jeez. I made a video on Varys. You should check it out. The thumbnail sucks, but the video is good. So it's in my Revelations part in the playlist. It's a good video. My thing on Varys is they can't kill Varys by whites. It's not fulfilling, and it doesn't round out his character enough. I think Varys should die doing what he does best. I think it was foreshadowed, last season. Varys said he would never betray Dany, and he would tell her if she's wronging the people. But I think Varys is going to come into the information that Jon's a Targaryen, and he's going to decide that it's best for the realm if he sits the throne. And I think he's going to conspire against Daenerys, and I would love to see Varys die because he betrayed Daenerys. I think that would kind of bring his character full circle. And I always say I would love that in the trailer when we see the dragon breathing fire with the black background. I would love for that to be in episode 4 or 5 or 6, whatever, and the dragon is executing Varys. But, who knows? That's how I want Varys to end. Glem Glang, do you think that Cersei and Euron will join the battle to surprise us? I hope not. If we have any surprises, I hope it's Melisandre and the Fiery Hand. Cersei would feel cheap. The reason is because they didn't establish anything of that nature, right? If they were planning battle strategy and we got to see some form of something, it would be good. But honestly, I wouldn't hold it past them for the Golden Company to walk on in there. I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think they're going to do that. I hope they don't do that. I just think they haven't built the plot up that way. Like, we know Melisandre has gone to Essos for a reason. We know that she's coming back to Westeros. There's plot development there, and it would make sense if she came back because she can see stuff. It would make sense that she comes at the right time. Cersei, no. Especially since the last thing she wants to do is take her 20,000 men, really the Golden Company, her key advantage, and to take them to fight the White Walkers. I just don't see it adding up. Eugenia says, the Night King was stabbed in the heart with dragonglass. Maybe he is Azor Ahai in some metaphorical way. Maybe he needs a queen that will be the prophecy with a spin. Night King doesn't exist. My one thing with that is I always compare what's happening now to the last time he came south. And I don't know. I like the idea. I think it's cool. I don't know. I don't have much to say on that. I just think based on the long night, I don't know if he would come back for a bride. Maybe I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like in a brain fart right now. Did you see the leaked scenes? No, I hope that there's no leaked scenes. I'm not seeing any leaked scenes until I see it tonight. But I did see Endgame, and no spoilers, but holy crap. I will say that, little off topic, everything with Avengers that happened, I genuinely wanted to happen. And I see people who are spoiling stuff, and I will remove them. And I just did that. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. All right, let's go through here. What's your anticipation level for this episode? Being it's the longest, I'm very excited. I'm like, a part of me is like a little worried because the marketing of it, HBO is saying that it's the main event. So I hope that the main event doesn't mean like the last battle for the White Walkers. Like, if the Night King is defeated and the Whites lose, I am gonna be angry. Like, I'm gonna be mad. You're gonna have a 20-minute video of me like at 12 o'clock, and I'm just gonna be ranting. Like, I think that should not happen. So, yeah, and then when that happens, you guys can all laugh at me. You can make the da 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 theme to the melody. I'll remember that when I'm scrolling through the chat. I'll go dun 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 dun. See, that's what I do. I do ba 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 ba. Cheryl says Daenerys' reaction to Jon being a Targaryen is disappointed. I would honestly say that she was just shocked, or it was disappointing seeing her reaction. I don't think so. I kind of felt like it would go that way. She's in the north. Everyone hates her. Her hand is making a bunch of stupid mistakes, and then she finds out that the person she loves is not only her nephew. He's also a better claim to the throne than she is. So it makes sense to me that the first thing that she would do is try and discredit him. And I think she's just genuinely in shock. And it makes sense in terms of her character that it would kind of come out in anger. So I think the reaction made sense. I don't have any problems with it. Dany must kill Jon. That's interesting. See what happens. There's some people who believe that Jon will kill Daenerys. I was kind of in that camp because the prophecies of Melisandre says that you'll betray your family, you'll betray the ones you hold dear, but it will all be worth it because you will be king. Which means that, the person who's the savior also kind of ruins their life. So a part of me thought that that was Jon. Whether it would be killing Daenerys when she goes too far in a situation, or a mercy, maybe she's injured or something. I'm not sure. Who knows? But Daenerys could also kill Jon. I'm not really leaning that way. I'm not by any means saying that these characters will kill each other, but it's a possibility. What else do we got here? Will the wildling giants be in the fight? Only if they are on the white side. Only if they're fighting for the White Walkers. Other than that, no. Wan was one of the only ones. So yeah, that's it. Eric Miller, if Brienne of Tarth dies during the battle for Winterfell, who will write Jaime's page in the White Book? See, that's the one thing I really like. And Jaime's thing, and Joffrey mocked him for it, is that his book, the historical deeds of past King's Guards, his remained unfilled as a Lannister because he didn't really do anything honorable, and he's known as the Kingslayer. And that's kind of the one thing with Jaime that's iconic, is that the one good honorable deed that he did he was notorious for it. He gained negative fame, right? Um, and I think Jamie's arc will finish with him finally doing something right and being appreciated and remembered for it. And I think that has to do with killing Cersei, right? Yeah, who fills in that book? I don't know. I like the idea of Sam kind of being the face of knowledge moving forward. That Sam is the one who writes A Song of Ice and Fire. It would be a historical book that would be passed from generation to generation. He would be the one to write the documented historical books, right? And he would be the head of the Citadel. So I like the fact that Sam could take that role. Um, Guys, stop spoiling stuff, man. You guys are right. I need to get some moderators here. Who made Bran's wheelchair? I don't know. Do you think that Arya cannot die, as she is no one like Jack and Hagar? No, I think she can die, because I wouldn't say that she's no one. She chose not to be no one. That was her whole plot. She fought off the waif, put her face on the wall, and left because she chose to be a Stark. And on top of that, she decided to go to Winterfell rather than King's Landing because she was Arya Stark. So I think that's a part of Arya's character, right? She had such a traumatic event. She tried to disassociate herself with who she was in her past, but now she's trying to come to terms with who she is. And I think when she comes full circle, that's how she will die. She will die as Arya Stark, not as no one. And by the way, I don't think Jack and Hagar is going to show up. I really don't. I think his character's retired. I don't think he's going to come back. What do you think of Daenerys and Jon's relationship? Will they stay together? Honestly, that's in Daenerys's camp. I don't think incest really matters at this point. I don't think they care about that. I think the key issue is, will Daenerys will Daenerys be able to accept the fact that he has a legitimate claim to the throne? And I think her key issue is she will not want to give up her power to Jon. I think Jon will want to rule in unison. That's like what Davos was saying, that Jon and Daenerys can rule together as king and queen with equal power. I just don't think Daenerys would want that. And I think it would take her a while to get to that point. So, yes. Do I think they'll stay together? Honestly, at the end of the show, one of them's going to be dead anyway, so I don't even think it matters, to be honest with you. Have you seriously considered Sansa dying tonight? I think it would be a huge twist. People aren't expecting it, and she probably isn't needed to kill the Night King or Cersei. I haven't considered it because I feel like it would never happen. I know that doesn't answer your question. I've never seriously considered it because it's so far from what I expect to happen. I just don't think character-wise it makes sense to kill her off. I think she's very important because she represents the North's interests politically. So I don't think she's going to die. Watch me eat my words, but I really don't think so. I think Sansa is one of the Starks that's going to make it to the end. That would be something. Solomonic says that would be something. 2 dragons, one with Dany, one with Jon, battling out with the sky with the Night King on his dragon, going WTF. No, I know. Seeing a dragon, we got to see a dragon battle by the end of this, right? I think that would be incredible. But the one thing that blew my mind with how they treated the Night King in season 7 was he's fast. He like whipped through the sky. I think. Key difference. I didn't mention this. Daenerys always says that her dragons, or in episode 1, said that her dragons don't like the snow. You know, they're weaker in the snow. Well, what the Night King brings the long night, and his dragon, Viserion, only gets stronger in the snow. I think that's part of the reason why you see him whip around the skies like a freaking I don't even know, but it's powerful. So I think facing off the Night King in terms of like fighting him with a dragon would be almost like impossible. I think it's going to be a very hard thing for them to do. Blackberry says, "Do you think we're going to have a cliffhanger tonight?" No, I think it's going to have a nice bookend on it. I think we're going to have a nice finish. I think a big episode like this, you're not going to have it with a cliffhanger. I think the biggest cliffhanger you get is some of the key characters get to some sort of safety, and I think the last open, it would be the Night King resurrecting his new army, right? And the cliffhanger would be, where do we go from here, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think that is what we can expect. Um, Do you think the whole episode will be battle? I think it's a part of it. I think there's going to be character moments. I think there's going to be, what I was going to say is, usually there's a lot of episodes. What am I saying? There's a lot of episodes in Game of Thrones that set up the whole battle, right? If you look at the Battle of the Bastards, you set up, Jon and Sansa fighting about battle plans. You see Jon and Sansa confronting Ramsay, and you see those character moments that build up to the final, like, 20-minute battle, right? And then you see the last 5 to 10 minutes kind of wraps everything up, right? That's the formula of a Game of Thrones battle. Same thing with Blackwater, same thing with Hardhome. It's the character development, and then you have the action for 20 minutes, and then you have the wrap up, right? But episode 2, last episode, was kind of that. It was all the character moments that is going to set up this season. So, or this episode. So if I was going to make a guess and say, what's the likelihood of this whole thing being a battle? It would make sense just because they set everything up last episode. But I still think we're going to get more character moments. I think the battle is going to be broken up into different pieces. I think it's going to be the biggest battle we've ever seen, because I think it's going to take place outside of Winterfell. They're going to retreat in Winterfell. They're going to fight in Winterfell. They're going to retreat to the crypts. They're going to retreat from the Godswood. I think it's going to be big, and there's going to be multiple different places where it's going to take place. So I think it's going to be big. But I still think I'm hoping we get more revelations on the Night King. That's my main thing. I think we need to get more answers than him just wanting to bring a long night, which I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that I would love if Bran found out something new, and they found out that the Night King isn't here to bring total destruction. He's bringing total destruction because he wants this thing that we're not giving him. That's the reason why he went north last time, is because the Children of the Forest and the First Man came together and they found out what the hell he wanted. And then once they did that, he went back north. So I hope that happens. I'm doing it again. Sorry. What do we got here? Will we see Melisandre in this episode? Meh. I honestly don't know. There's nothing to suggest. Like, if she's not in this episode, then she's going to be in the next episode, and she's going to come with more Red Priests and potentially the Fiery Hand. I think it would make the most sense if she came this episode, because she has an army. The Fiery Hand represents the fire, and the fire can combat the ice, right? I think it's the perfect mesh. Melisandre knows that there's going to be a war coming, and she knows that they're going to be coming to Winterfell. So I think if Melisandre and the Fiery Hand and other Red Priests and Priestesses swooped in on Winterfell, I would not have any issues with that at all. I think that would make sense. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Do you like the theory where Arya will kill the Mountain by putting on the Valyrian dagger in his face, and after the Hound has lost the fight against his brother? No, I don't like that theory. First of all, cinematically, I don't know how you pull that off without it looking cheesy. And what's the purpose, right? Is the purpose to disguise yourself to go kill Cersei? Because other than that, I just think it's a little cheesy, and I don't think it it follows the rules per se about being faceless, and I don't like how it would look on the screen cinematically and story wise. I just don't. I wouldn't buy into that. I think that there's a lot of theories out there, and honestly, I'm so as a YouTuber, like I'm so into obviously Game of Thrones, and I'm so into that culture, and I should be because I talk Game of Thrones regularly, right? Well, I'm actually just going to say the opposite. I'm not really a part of any communities, right? I do not go on Reddit. I do not do I don't go on Instagram, Twitter for, theories. I don't watch other YouTubers because I want to just stay in my head and do predictions based on what I personally think are logical. Not necessarily, I'm not saying that they're right. I'm saying that they're grounded in my personal logic, right? And if you like that, you can subscribe to this channel, right? But I'm not the kind of guy who's going to put out a theory video that throws a couple of things together that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know what I mean? Um, I just know that there's some channels out there that like talk about a concept and the concept just is wrong and it just doesn't make necessarily any sense. But at the end of the day, like it is good. It is good content, right? I don't know. I handle my channel a little bit differently. Do I think the elephants will show up? No, not at all. Yeah, I think that they established that they wouldn't. I think the whites would only come if they were resurrected by the Night King, and that would be a part of the army. Yeah, programmer of video game says that he hates that the season only has 6 episodes. Um, yeah, I'll see how I feel after this season plays out. I'm not gonna say yet if I'm, disappointed or, happy that we only have 6 episodes. It depends on how they tell the story. If they have enough story to tell it in 6 episodes, then that's good enough. Because the last thing I want is for the season to be rushed, be delayed, right? I want them to have the right amount of time to tell the story that they need to tell. Um, Do you think that Cersei is still pregnant? We saw her drink wine a few episodes back. I don't know what to think. Yeah, I kind of got schooled on that when I made a video. I said Cersei's drinking wine, so who knows about the baby? But in reality, I don't know if that's such a big deal. In terms of her still being pregnant, sure, I would say yes. I think that there needs to be a scene where she loses it, only because we would realize that really she has nothing. She lost Jamie, she lost the baby, she has no hope, and she's a very spiteful character. The last thing she wants is for Daenerys, the more beautiful queen, to take over the throne, right, when she's gone. So I think that's what would make her the Mad Queen, right? She will do anything to make sure that nobody takes the throne from her. So I think I think that's going to be one of the key things. Um, bu- 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 Jason says a lot of folks base the show on the books, and the show has been off the books for a couple seasons now. Not every nuance from the show is deeply rooted in the books. Yeah, I agree. And there's some parts of the books that translate great to the show, but there's some parts that don't. And I think it's important to understand these things as two different mediums. So that's how I see that. Look, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been a while, and I like have to go to the bathroom, like very badly. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a brief break here. I'm gonna play some Game of Thrones music that you guys can listen to. A lot of you guys, by the way, are commenting in my videos asking what music do I play. All you have to do is go to the scores from. I use season 6, season 7, and a couple of odd songs from throughout the season. So we'll see. But right now, how fitting. I guess I'll play this song. Is it working? Nope. Anyways, I'll be back. Give me a minute. Oh, jeez. Sorry for the song choice. Oh my god. Talk about depressing. Should have played something a little bit more upbeat. All right. All right, what's everyone talking about here? People are saying Jon's going to kill Dany. Don't know why. And by the way, one thing I will say, everyone says that, you know, there was a leak, there was, you know, this and that. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Every season, I think last season the plot leak was right. This season, I bet you any money, every single leak or plot point that we get, I think it's made up. I think a lot of people do like fan fiction and they try and pass it off as a genuine leak. In terms of obviously, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Yeah, just in terms of leaks, I wouldn't give any of this validity. I think people are doing posts to try and get people to, you know, get clicks, right? Peter Endicote says, "Do you write fan fiction?" I don't think I do, but I think because I do this channel, I kind of found myself doing it because, yeah, technically I do because I wanted to do. I was doing Game of Thrones videos. I was also doing Westworld, and before Game of Thrones season 8 came out, I was like, I'll do a prediction series. And I guess I took that a bit too seriously. And I wrote out basically every episode. So that basically I wrote fan fiction. That's pretty much what I did. I don't really identify as a fan fiction writer, but I guess that's what I do now. So yes, I do fan fiction. Jackson says that the director said that the battle is longer than Helm's Deep, about 40 minutes. So probably the battle, that's going to be the battle. The episode's an hour and 18 minutes. Wow, that's going to be a big episode. Wow. Okay, I'm excited. This is going to be a really nice episode. Get your popcorn, guys. This is going to be a very, very big episode. What else do we got here? Snowy says, "Hi, who's your second favorite character?" I don't know. Oh, okay, obviously Jon's my first favorite. In terms of my second favorite character, my favorite character is probably Arya for a while. But I found like I didn't love watching her as much as I used to. You know what I mean? When they went into like season 7, I don't know. I've realized that I don't think she's my second favorite character anymore. And it's not because like I like the character a lot. I just like I can only judge it by how I feel when I'm watching this show. And from season 1, the first episode, I was like, I like Jon. And every single episode that he was in, then there's some people that feel so different. People watch Jon Snow in season 2, 3, 4, and they're bored. They're bored out of their mind. That was always my favorite part of the show. I liked watching him at the wall. I liked watching him with the wildlings. I liked watching every aspect of his story. I loved watching him. So I think my second favorite character would be somebody that is around Jon, because my favorite part of watching the show is with when Jon is north of the wall, when he's doing this, when he's doing that. So I honestly think it's like a secondary side character that's with Jon. Like Sam, I love Sam. Sam is awesome. I don't think I like Tormund as much as Sam, but I do love Tormund a lot. I just find that a lot of my favorite characters now blend around. You naturally like the characters around what you like watching the most. And I've always liked watching Jon's story. And naturally, I end up really liking the characters that surround Jon. So that's my answer. Maybe Sam, to be honest with you. Probably Sam would be my second favorite character. Tyrion is close. Tyrion is very close. I just feel like he's been kind of really misused the last season and a half. What else do we got here? It feels like you're a few minutes away from your mom opening the door and telling you that it's bedtime. Yeah, you're right. Sean Kelson says, Night King comes out and makes a deal with Jon Snow to marry the White Walker. I need to read that again. Night King comes out and makes a deal with Jon Snow to marry the White Walker Dragon Queen by repeating the story of the Night King who married the White Walker bride in the first book. Oh yeah, that's the story of I forget what it's called. I did a video on it. I'm sorry, I forget. But yeah, that's good foreshadowing. I think I don't think the Night King is after a wife, because I think it would be very weird if he just like he just came over the wall and just grabbed Danny and ran away. Like I feel like there's something wrong with that. Um, I don't think that's going to be the story. If anything, it is a child or it is a product of fire and ice, voice crack, which would be John. But other than that, yeah, yeah, it's pretty much all I got for that. Um, duh, 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 duh. What else do we got here? Oh, so one favorite here: Cersei's number one, Arya's number two, or Tormund. I find that funny because a lot of people say that Cersei's their favorite character, which I guess I understand, but I hate Cersei. So like she wouldn't be my favorite because I don't want her to be around. You know what I mean? But a lot of people like that, right? It's like Breaking Bad, Walter White. Same kind of thing, I guess. Because she's not all bad. Cersei's got some good in her, I guess. Her kids. The Hound is my fave. I know some people who love the Hound, and I think the Hound's a great character. I love that he took like a hiatus and he came back. And I love the way they're handling him. I like it. Um, what else do we got here? Sorry guys, I'm still looking for a question. Will the Night King talk or speak in this episode? No. I think they're running with it. I don't think the Night King is going to say another word until that's it. So, yeah, honestly, I think that's it. If it's just truly a fight and the Night King wants to bring just darkness, he's going to fight silently. If the Night King wants something, it's up to Bran and Sam to try and figure that out and provide that to him. I don't think the Night King is going to speak. Because I think at this point, once you make him speak, it kind of degrades his character. I think they want him to be kind of like a Terminator-esque type of character, makes him more mysterious, that kind of thing. So I think that's what they're going to do. People watching the episodes now, do not put spoilers in here if you watch the episode. I don't know how these episodes are always getting out. I don't know if they're playing it like an hour early somewhere else, but I swear to God, do not spoil this episode. Yo, man, what do you think is possible? They will lose this episode and they run back to King's Landing and fight their next battle with Cersei. Yes, I hope that they lose, and I hope that they're caught in between the dead and Cersei, and I hope that they need to rush through and lay siege to King's Landing to take it over before her stupidity gets the Golden Company killed and them resurrected for the dead. So it gets to a point where it's like, okay, we need an alliance, or if Cersei's not willing to comply, then we have to kill her. And I think it's that desperation. Because like people who are saying that the Night King dies this episode, just think of the ramifications of that and think of how that would make you feel. All the dead die. Everything's done. The light shines on the world again, right? That's the whole thing that they've been setting up for this whole time. But then episode 4, 5, and 6 is like, okay, now we got to go get Cersei. Well, she's just in King's Landing, right? You could use a dragon. You could like, there's no more stakes. We already went through the biggest part. That's why I think the Night King has to live, and that's why Cersei's going to be a factor contributing to that. Aaron says, what do you think about the spiral sign from the Night King being at the Weirwood tree in the God's Wood? And so to defeat him, he needs to be killed at the tree the same way he was created. I don't necessarily think that. I'm not a part of those people who think that the Night King should be killed, because I don't think that feeds into anything that he's done. It doesn't feed into his previous actions. Yeah, I've made a video on how the Night King was defeated. My interpretation of the symbol was a child. He wants a sacrifice in order to keep the peace between men and White Walkers. And I think the spiral symbol represents that. It represents the children. It represents how he was made, but it also represents his motivation. I think I made a key draw between the Targaryen sigil and the spiral, because I think with this show, you have to look a lot of in history. And Targaryen, sure, they came really late, and then they made their dragon sigil. But I think that was grounded in the history of it being the spiral that the Night King uses, because it represents an individual with fire blood, and that's what he is after, right? He represents ice, and in order to keep the peace and for him to get what he wants, he needs a sacrifice from the humans of their fire. I don't know, but I think that's where I was going with it. And if you want it said more eloquently, check out my video on it, because I'm not gonna be able to spit out the kind of stuff that I laid down in that video. So you should check that out. Who's going to enjoy this episode in 4K? Not me. What else do we got here? Oh, thank you for the money. My gosh. Yeah, people are I think people are donating a bit too, which is unbelievable. Thank you guys so much. I honestly don't know how to see who donated, but thank you to everyone who's donated money. Yeah, I appreciate it. What else do we got here? Do you think Yara will play an important role if Jon loses tonight? Yeah, she's the escape, right? She's the safe house. She's the safe house for them to, escape to and be safe for the Night King until they decide to make a move to go to King's Landing. So I think that she plays an important role. Why she's taken over the Iron Islands and not Dragonstone is beyond me. Maybe they want to clear more distance between her and Cersei. That's also a safe bet. And I think that could be the scene where we see Jon and Daenerys by the fire in the trailer. I think that's the only scene that we could have possibly gotten that is after episode 3. What do you think about Arya's 2 special weapons? I think they're awesome. I think the spear makes sense because that's what she used to fight when she was blind, fighting against the waif. I think that's natural, and she wants a distance weapon, right? You can't fight all these things with just a dagger. So I think the dagger is good too. But one thing we noticed in the trailer is that she has no dagger, and she doesn't have cat's claw's paw. What's the name of the blade? Cat's paw. I think it's cat's paw, and she doesn't have her spear. So I think she's just going to be on the run. And I think it just shows like how crazy this episode is going to be. And by the way, one thing I do want to say, maybe I'll make a chat here. Whoever wants to be a moderator, let me know. I will approve you if you don't troll me, and just take away people who are leaking or do anything of that nature. Because I'll be honest with you, I went from a stream of like 50 people to now we have over 1,000. So I think moderators are necessary. Because yeah, really at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to have anything spoiled. And that also includes, other things, right? Like nobody wants to have Avengers spoiled. Like that sucks. What else do we got here? Ygritte told Jon Snow a story about a child. I think it has something to do with the Night King is coming. I think, you know what? Ygritte was one of my favorite characters when she was around. The story of them, I was so invested in their relationship. I legit like broke down when she died. I'll be honest with you. So I really liked her character. What do you think about Cersei being Gendry's mother? I don't think anything of it because I don't think that would happen. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it has any purpose. I'm very sorry for ripping apart your theory. I just don't really agree with it. Yeah, I just don't think it makes any sense. Sorry about that though. I'm sure there's some proof behind it that I'm not seeing, but I feel like plot wise, it's not the best. Well, I'm doing it again. Oh, people are saying to moderate. That is so nice. Do you think the identity of the Night King will be revealed? Oh, you mean like I was gonna say like wasn't he already? Like you mean like was he a Stark or Targaryen? No, because I think during that time it didn't matter. There was no Stark, there was no Targaryen, but there was blood, right? The blood was still around. So I don't think the Night King's identity would be revealed any more than it is now, unless there's some crazy plot twist like what I predicted for fun that Bran would warg into him and a part of the Night King would subconsciously be Bran. But other than that, no. I think that's it. Do you think they're going to heal the Night King and not kill him? No, I think they're going to kill him or they're going to make amends or give him what he wants in order to make him go away again. Keith says I volunteer as tribute. I actually love the Hunger Games franchise. You have no idea. I went to the premiere for the first movie and I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I would give it a try. What else do we got here? Now I'm back to looking for questions. Won't we get a complete Night King backstory that clears all the questions? I was hoping we would. I was hoping we'd go back to the War for the Dawn and learn more about him that way. But it seems like we're not really going in that direction. So, it's possible. I hope that this episode, it would be nice if Bran actually went back and got more answers rather than just staring into the abyss. That would be nice. But other than that, like I don't know, like the fact that they said they're doing a long night episode. What am I saying? The fact that they're doing a long night series to me completely tells us that we're not going to see any flashbacks from there because you spoil the franchise that they're building right now, right? So I'm very upset that they decided to do that. I think that's dumb. Who will become Nissa? Nissa is either Lyanna Stark or it's Daenerys. Whether they want to do a I have my sword and I'm gonna make a flaming sword, or they're gonna do what I think or hope happens, that it's a child and Nissa is the one who bore a Targaryen child. So I hope that's the case. Do you think Bran will die? I honestly don't feel one way or another about it. I think his character has been so misused. I think since he's offering nothing, I think it would be a good shock to the system to have us be like, okay, well, how do we even beat him now? And Sam has to kind of figure that out. But it would also be important if he lived and they brought him to the God's Eye, where he could do a lot more, dive a bit deeper in Night King lore and try and figure out how to defeat him. How do you think Varys and Melisandre will die? I've been pretty clear on it. I don't know why I feel this way about Melisandre, but I've always thought that she would die giving her life to save another. Only death can pay for life. She resurrected Jon, and I think she would sacrifice herself, give the kiss of life to resurrect somebody else. Because the way I see Melisandre dying, it can't be just from whites. It has to be her using her ability in some way and drastically changing how the battle will go. She has to die in a way that has stakes because now she's trying to keep herself out and kind of let fate take hold. And I want her to make one more decision that actually has an impact. In terms of Varys, same thing. Varys can't die from whites. He's too delicate for that. I think he needs to die because he politically screwed himself. I think he's the spider, so I would like him to conspire to try and get Jon on the throne because he finds out that he's a Targaryen. And because of that, he tries to get Jon the Golden Company, whether it's talking to Illyrio. They won't do this in the show. Whether it's talking to Illyrio to get him to fund the Golden Company to get another contract, or just getting support behind Jon Snow, behind Daenerys' back, and he would die because he betrayed her. And it would be in a place where Jon has gotten so much support that he can't get them to side with Daenerys, even if he wanted to, and Daenerys would be stuck because power would reside with Jon at that point. And that's the key thing that Varys said: power resides where men believe it resides, and Varys could shift it to where men believe it resides with Jon Snow. PVR Gaming, I would like to ask how big of an impact Melisandre will have tonight. The Red Woman Priest is destined to visit Winterfell one last time, aiding the Three-Eyed Raven. Yes, I think there's a 50% chance. So I'm half and half. Either she comes with an army with flaming swords, and they come in and help fight off, kind of like the Vale did in Battle of the Bastards, or she comes next episode. Either way, she's going to come back, and she's going to see Arya fulfilling that prophecy that she gave. And everything will be all fine and dandy. What else do we get here? Do you think Bronn will show up and save Jaime or Tyrion from last-minute death? I'm interested to see how they're going to do that, because they kind of just threw that in there. I don't think we're going to see Bronn this episode. It would be really rushed, and I think they need to focus on the Night King in this episode. So I don't think they're going to touch on Bronn. I think Bronn is next episode. How that's going to play out, I don't know. The way I feel is Bronn's whole journey was that he was a sellsword, and we see his journey in being more than that. And I think we're going to see him define himself as, a friend. He developed a good friendship with Tyrion and Jaime, and I think he's going to choose that over the castle. And I think he'll pay the price for it, and I think Bronn's going to die because of it. So that's a possibility. Do you think Sam will become the narrator of the story as he survives to write a book about it? I would love for that to happen. I think that would be perfect. I think that would be awesome storytelling. I think Bran. I think Sam is the most likely one to survive everything in the show. Do you think Beric will die or give his life for another? I think regardless, Beric Dondarrion has to do something significant enough that justifies the guy being brought back like 10 or more times. Come on, he's got to do something. So whether what that is, I'm not sure. He'll save a character that's significant, sure, or he'll do an act that will help defeat the White Walkers or something of that nature. So regardless, Beric's going to die. It's just a matter of what he's going to do that's going to be significant enough to justify him living. But he is on his last life. Thoros Amir is gone, so he's only got one more chance. What else do we get here? The main character could be turned into a White Walker. No. Oh, like Jon? Could the main character be turned into a White Walker? It's possible. The only way that they would do it, though, is because they've only resurrected babies in a White Walkers. In terms of how they would do it, I guess it would have to be with Dragonglass, right? That's why in my prediction that I just wrote, I had there would be like a state of confusion, and they would grab Jon and put him up against a weirwood tree, and the Night King would come with a piece of Dragonglass, and it was clear that they were trying to convert him, right? I think that would be kind of cool. So would it be possible? I think it would be really sweet if they did that. This sucks, man. I always lose my place. I'm like on a roll, and then the chat goes crazy, and then I lose my spot. Theory. After being defeated by the Night King, they have to run to the crypts, but if Bran follows them, then the Night King will be able to enter. So Arya will kill Bran with the dagger and run to the crypts. Yeah, talk about brotherly and sisterly love. I don't think it would quite. Okay, I like the implication of that. I think that's very cool. In terms of Arya just being like, "Oh, he's dead, wait and kill him and then run," I don't think that would happen. I think it would be more like a very sad scene where Bran's like, "Let me stay," and then they'll all be emotional, and Bran would be like, "Just leave," and that would be that. But yeah, I don't know if anything happens with Bran. Um, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. What else? Did Cersei actually order Jaime's murder? Will that be why he kills her? Will Jaime beat Bronn in a duel fulfilling that arc? Yeah, like I said, I think Bronn is going to turn around. I think the most important thing about that scene is not about how Cersei wants to kill her brothers. I think it's how she wants to kill Daenerys. It's not so Can I talk today? It's more about the um she wants the deaths of her enemies to have meaning. Like she gave Bronn the crossbow because it represents Tyrion killing Tywin. Um, and so much more than that, right? And Qyburn said that she has plans for Daenerys, and I think the key there is, Cersei does have a plan on how to defeat Daenerys, and it will kind of strike at the core of who she is. That's why I think that the wildfire is important. It's important for her to get Daenerys riled up, so she gets the people of Westeros to see Daenerys not as this beautiful queen, who's really changing things for the better, but rather her father. And then she can use the wildfire to kind of destroy Daenerys as well as her memory. And to Cersei, I think that would be fulfilling enough. Somebody says, please read. Want your opinion. What do you think about my theory where Brienne dies, Jaime dies, Theon kills Bran to make him stronger as White, Arya disappears, turns up to kill Cersei, wearing Jaime's face? There's a lot happening there. In terms of like, I honestly don't really completely understand what the theory is, but I don't think Theon would kill Bran. I don't think any character will be resurrected as a White until the end of this episode. In terms of Arya wearing a face, I don't think we're gonna see her wear a face anymore. I just feel like she's kind of past that point. She's now just a skilled fighter, and she's chosen not to be faceless. But watch me be completely wrong on that. Um, duh, 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 duh. Do you think the Night King is after Baby Sam? No, I think it's a lot more than that. Because Craster and his kids weren't there for the War for the Dawn. He's coming south for, I think, a much bigger reason than that. Do you think that Daario will sail to Westeros with the Second Sons? No, I think his character is retired. I think he's going to stay in Essos. I think the show is now just going to focus on the key characters that we know at this point that we're following. What significance do you see Arya bringing to the rest of the season? I think her significance is her coming back to herself. I think that's her key role. In terms of her being, my one issue with her being faceless is everyone is saying like, oh, she's going to put on a face and kill Cersei. I just think that ruins the dramatic tension of the scene. Like every person that Arya's killed off of her list significantly was great for her, but Cersei, it would be way more fulfilling if it was Jaime or an actual Valonqar who killed her. So I think for Arya now, it's more about being there for her family, and I think she could die doing that. Da, 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 da. Okay, guys, I think it's 8 o'clock, so the episode's starting soon. I need to eat. Like I'm starving, so I'm gonna wrap up in about 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. I'll answer some final questions, and then we will watch Game of Thrones. I'm very excited, and you can expect my video. My video will be up tonight, and it will go through everything like that too. Do you think we will see the mountain zombie face before the conclusion of season 8? Didn't we already see it? We saw it in season 6. He walked in, took off his helmet, and then he went the septa Anella, something like that. We already saw his face. So I think that's already been done. Do you think that Dany could turn her back on Jon Snow and the others by the end of the season, or no? No, I think she will stay around. I just think she's really in a tough spot right now. I think, everything she does, I think, puts her in a very tough position. Everything is going against her, and the person that she loves now has a better claim to the throne than she does. And I think she's going to be upset about it. She's going to try and hold her power, but at the end of the day, I think she will die. I think she'll sacrifice herself, maybe. But I think, the root of Daenerys is good. Like, I don't think she's going to turn back on everyone. I think she'll just be struggling to keep her head afloat because everything isn't working out in her in her favor. Frankie, so much for the money, buddy. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I think I just said that like 3 times on a loop, which means that I really appreciate it. Peace and serenity. Hi, BuzzTox. New to your channel. Oh, sweet. Go back and watch my old stuff. Good to see you doing a live chat before the big episode 3. No, I know. I think it's very important. I want to talk to you guys, hear your guys' theories. I want to express how I feel, answer your questions. But honestly, if you're new to the channel, check out my old videos. There's some of them that I work a ton on. Go check out my Game of Thrones Revelations part. I kind of break through that. And if you have like an hour and you want to check out my in-depth prediction on what will happen this episode, just check out my episode 3 prediction video. But that is that's my promotional material for the the live stream. BuzzTalk, well, that's me. Rebel Taz says, I read somewhere that we'll get Rhaegar versus Robert flashback, most probably through Bran flashback, but with 2 episodes already gone, I don't think it's time. What do you think that there's a chance? I don't think so, because I think seeing Robert and Rhaegar hold no significance other than us wanting to see it. It doesn't help answering any questions on the Night King. It doesn't answer any questions on how to defeat him. It doesn't answer any more questions on who Azor Ahai is. So I think it would be a pointless scene that gets us nowhere. And if Bran went there and saw that, I'd be very disappointed in him, because I think that he's wasting his time. But I think that's how I feel about that. Do you think that there's any chance that Littlefinger may still be alive? And do you think Jorah will survive? Littlefinger alive? No, the politics died with him, and now it's time to fight against the dead. Do I think that Jorah will survive? Jorah I had an issue with, because I hate when shows write stuff in and then retcon it out. The fact that Jorah got grayscale, I'm like, wow, he's got a ticker on him. He's gonna die soon, and then they just magically fix it, even though it spoke to Sam's character. But I feel like Jorah kind of has to die at this point. I feel like he should. And whether it's this episode, I don't know. He may still be an important counsel for Daenerys. But he would be a significant character to lose. So I don't know. But I will say that I think we're going to lose Jorah in this season. What else do we got here? Do you think that Bran's character got a bit dull between season 7 and season 8? Has he prepared for this battle? I can't see a development. I mean, he's still mysterious, which makes it odd so far. I liked how Bran was. I liked how everything with Bran. Season 6 I thought was a perfect season. I thought, but when you get into season 7, I think they could have used his character better. I think there's a lot of insight that he could have provided that would have been useful. I think they could have used him and really built up the connection between him and the Night King. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about him now. I just wish he did more, and I wish we got more flashbacks outside of just him going back looking at Jon's heritage, because I think it's more than that. Do you think that Jenny's song sung by Podrick has any significance with the possible foreshadowing? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you write down the lyrics in this chat before I end, then I will break it down for you based on my thoughts, because I don't know what the words are. So, hey, if you take 2 minutes and you write down Jenny's song and all the lyrics for it, I will try and break it down and see what I can get from it. What else do we got here? Oh, someone said they subscribed because I watched my Jon Snow video and it made them cry. Thank you. Yeah, I put a lot of effort in that video. If you can tell, I'm a big fan of Jon Snow. Do you think the dragons are in danger? Yeah, they were last season. So this season, yeah, 100% they're in danger. One of them could die this episode. And Cersei's also a threat because she's got scorpion ballistas that she can use to just shoot them out of the sky. So I think, yes, they're in danger, and I don't even know if both of them will even make it past this show. Somebody says, are you going to stop the live chat when the episode airs? Yep, I'm going to stop the live chat in like 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm not going to be streaming it live. Yeah, no, I don't want to get sued. There goes, I'm doing it again. Where do we go? I'll answer a couple more questions, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, I think I got the lyrics of Jenny's song. High in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with their ghosts. The one she had lost, and the one she had found, and the ones that had loved her the most. Okay, let's see what I can do. High in the halls of the kings who are gone. There are many kings that are gone, including Jon Snow, who's now Warden of the North. But we'll see how long that goes. And Jenny would dance with their ghosts. Okay. The one she had lost, and the one she had found, and the ones who had loved her the most. Yeah, so that could be, you can interpret that on anybody. Like it's you going back and remembering past people. It's searching through death. Since I'm thinking on the spot, it's very hard for me to come up with anything right now. But I'd be interested in hearing some of the interpretations right now, and I can kind of give my thoughts on it. Mega says, is Melisandre in Winterfell or Essos? Well, to be honest with you, we'll find out this episode. She's gonna be in Winterfell or Westeros in probably next episode. If we don't see her this episode, we're gonna see her next episode. That's it. And it's gonna fulfill her role. We know that she's coming back, and we know that Varys is gonna die as well, based on that scene. Yeah, somebody says song about Arya. Duh. Yeah, reading that, it is a bit of Arya, but a part of me thinks that it could also represent something else. But I think Arya is a good answer there too. Is Lady Mormont in danger? I think so. I said it in my death predictions video. Like, people forget, like, yeah, she's a ruler, but she's a kid, and it's a kid who's trying to fight the White Walkers and be like a commander, you know. I don't care what, she's a kid, so I think she's gonna die. I'm convinced she's gonna die. So that's my opinion on that. What else? I'll answer one more question and then I'm out. And then that'll give you guys about 45 minutes to watch some of my videos and see what you think. And yeah. Okay, I'll answer this one. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Okay. Oh, I guess I'll answer more than one. Do you think Jack and Agar has any material left? No, I thought he did, but I think he's done. If he had any material left, it would be because the Iron Bank of Bravos are paying him to kill somebody that they've in debt to, or somebody's indebted to them for. Do you think the Hound will die after saving Arya later in season 8? That was always my one prediction. I like the idea of the Hound. People keep saying Clegane Bowl. We need to see Clegane Bowl. My first Game of Thrones video, when I talk about, like, it's like season 5 or season 6 predictions, I hate Clegane Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it makes no sense. And I much rather the character of the Hound finish off showing his journey to like love something rather than him getting vengeance on someone who wronged him so long ago. So I prefer that story arc. So I'd like to see that. Yeah, White Walkers can't swim, but why can they walk across sea bottom? I don't know. How the hell did they end up wrapping chains around a dragon and pulling it up? I don't know. That's what I'm confused. The fact that like you guys have no idea. Go back and watch my season 7 reaction video. I was so disappointed in season 7 episode 6 when they when the ice broke around them like perfectly. Like I'm a Canadian, okay? Like I know how ice works. You don't just break through ice like that. Like that doesn't happen. So I was like my my suspension of disbelief was gone. Like it was gone. Like I was very upset with how that episode was handled. I thought it was lazy writing, so I was very mad at it. Um if Sam's the only one who survives, who's he writing the book for? Well, he's not the only one that survives. It's gonna be a whole new thing after, probably with a different type of system where sure, it's it'll be like a modern democracy. Well, not too modern, but a little bit. Like look at like American politics, right? Or even Canadian politics, but I'll use American because it's more popular. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about like George Bush, right? You had the Bush administration, and now you have Jeb Bush. You have all these other Bushes coming into for election, right? I think the same thing could be with Game of Thrones. You have an election, and you have maybe one Targaryen wants to try and elect himself for the Iron Throne, and they would vote him in if they were worthy or not. And Jon would be the first character to start that off because he would be the perfect representation of somebody who has a birthright Targaryen, but he worked his way up as a bastard. He resembles both sides, right? So I think, yeah, I think that would be an interesting way for it to go. So I'm actually reading a lot in the chat that people are seeing this and subscribing. So thank you. Thank you for everyone who's subscribing. I'm actually surprised that people found the stream who weren't a subscriber. I'd be interested. I'd be really interested in hearing how, because I really tailor this for my subscribers to kind of talk to you guys and answer your questions and things like that, right? So yeah, thank you so much for everyone joining who wasn't a part of BuzzTox before. And thank you everyone who came in the chat, answered questions, and made this chat great. This is one of the most successful ones we've had. I think last live stream we had maybe like 100 people, and then we had like 500 people, and then we crossed over 1,000, which is awesome. So we'll see what happens the next couple weeks. I'm excited. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for your time. I would recommend go back if you still have a Game of Thrones itch and you haven't seen my other stuff. Go check them out. I don't show my face. I overview footage. I kind of break down everything. So if you want to go through some theories, check out those videos if you still want to scratch that itch. But yeah, I'll let you guys be. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. And where's the off button? Take care. Bye.